Are you obsessed with Los Angeles? Head over heels in love with the City of Angels? Well, this is the podcast for you. At Life Hacks LA, we hack the best in arts, eats, and activities in Los Angeles. So join us and become an LA hacker. Baby, baby. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's episode number 23. And in this episode, we're going to talk to author Danny Jensen. And he's the co-author of a book called 100 Things to Do in Los Angeles Before You Die. Now, I actually own this book, and that's the reason why I reached out to him, because I'm such a fan of it. And, you know, our primary goal on this podcast is to share the best of Los Angeles. So what better way to do that than to have the author of a book on what to do in LA? And he's the co-author of this book that's already been out for a while, but he's also currently working on a book called Secret Los Angeles, where he's going to delve even deeper into the best secret hacks of LA. So on this episode, we talk about his books, and he shares some of his best tips, tricks, and hacks for Los Angeles, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So sit back, break out your notebook, and pay close attention to this interview with author Danny Jensen, and I'll talk to you on the other side. Hey, what's going on, LA hackers? Welcome to another episode of the Life Hacks LA podcast. And I've got a very exciting episode today because I have a very special guest. His name is Danny Jensen, and he's a writer and author, and he writes about our favorite subject, Los Angeles, all the secret tips, tricks, and hacks that you can find in the greatest city in the world, the city of LA. Welcome to the podcast, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I'm excited to have you on. Like I said, I've come across some of your articles and some of your books, and you have a new one coming out, right? LA Secrets?
I do. Yeah, it's Secret Los Angeles is the second one.
Okay, Secret Los Angeles. Okay, awesome. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later and get more detail what people can expect from that. But let's start off with, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from originally? And how did you come to Los Angeles, and where do you live in Los Angeles right now?
Sure, yeah. So I originally from the Boston area, and grew up there, and then went to school in New York. So I actually pursued acting and opera and a variety of other things while I was there. But I eventually moved out to LA just over 10 years ago, and came out obviously for more of the acting, but I also started writing as a day job, and started covering first initially kind of more political topics like food politics and things like that, climate change, but gradually sort of led into writing more about food and travel and things like that. And in particular, I worked for a company called Six Tastes doing food tours, so that I take people on walking tours around different neighborhoods in LA and help them discover new places to eat and check out. So that kind of got me even more into, you know, the local food scene and writing for places like Thrillist and LA Weekly and those kind of places. So, and I lived in Los Feliz for a good chunk of the time when I first moved here, and then a few years ago moved over to Mar Vista over on the west side, which is where I live with my wife now.
Oh, cool! Love both those places. So yeah, I've been out here about 10 years as well. Now, you touched on it a little bit, but what do you love about Los Angeles that makes you passionate to write about it? Like, I mean, you actually wrote a book called 100 Things to Do in Los Angeles Before You Die. Great book. I've had it for a while, and it's got some awesome tips about what to do in LA. So what was it about Los Angeles, coming from Boston, where you just fell in love with it, where it made you feel like you wanted to have a career writing about it?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, you know, in general, I've always been curious about, you know, kind of hidden spots and history, and maybe part of that's to do with growing up in Boston, but I always did love exploring both Boston and then New York. I lived there. But, you know, moving out to LA, you know, one of the things I really love about the city is that it is just always full of surprises. I mean, you know, I do this now, you know, for a living and writing about it and exploring places, and I'm still always finding new spots and new discoveries, and covering uncovering cool hidden histories. And people a lot of times say like, oh, does LA have culture or history? And it really does. And it's I think it requires a little bit more effort to explore, I think, than some cities. I think New York, you're walking around a lot and it's easy to kind of stumble upon things, but LA, you really got to go and seek it out. And I think because it's so big and people say, oh, it's so sprawling, that actually allows for there to be a lot of cool little pockets of different neighborhoods that really each have their own personality. So I think, as much people say, oh, sprawl is a bad thing, but I feel like it also helps for the city to have all this great diversity and hidden spots.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And part of it's the sprawl, but also each individual city has its own, well, not city, but neighborhood has its own amazing things. Like you live in Mar Vista. I'm familiar with Mar Vista, but I'm sure there's things in Mar Vista that I don't know about that you do because you live there.
Totally.
And like, I would never expect it. You know what I mean? Just like secret little hidden stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even just the farmer's market in each neighborhood is pretty amazing in their own right.
And we definitely, we have a great one here too. And, it's got, great food and excellent vendors, and they'll have DJs and events happening all the time. So I feel like, each neighborhood's sort of farmer's market is definitely good to check out.
Yeah. Okay. So with that answer, why don't you take us through your perfect day in Los Angeles? I mean, from waking up to going to bed, what would you consider like the perfect LA day for you personally? I mean, it could be in Mar Vista or it could be anywhere in Los Angeles, but take us through that perfect day for Danny.
Sure. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the farmer's market, because that was actually one of the things I was thinking about. We do love going to ours on Sunday here, grabbing a little breakfast from one of the vendors. And, if it's going to be a big day, maybe some snacks, some fruits and stuff to take take on the road. But yeah, I mean, like I say, all the, if you're going to go big with the, like the farmer's market in Hollywood or Santa Monica, I think those are fun too. And then probably go get brunch. You'll see there's a theme. There's a lot of food involved throughout the day.
And that's very LA of you, like brunch and farmer's market. Those are two big LA things.
Right, totally. Though I find I tend to go to brunch on the earlier side than I think a lot of people do. I don't know. It tends to get busier later on. But we have some of my favorite spots sort of nearby here. There's the Mar Vista restaurant, is really amazing. A lot of locally sourced produce. And another spot is Lodge Bread, which is a great bakery over here, and they do killer brunch and great pizzas, things like that. So that would be a pretty solid start to the day. And then probably head out and explore, maybe like a fun museum or some historic site, some hidden spot. I think, for researching and working on the books, I'm always sort of seeking out new spots. So I think some of the ones I've like recently gone to check out was the Disney's Carolwood Barn, which was I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out in Griffith Park before.
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't been there.
Yeah, it's cool. They do. So it's actually Walt Disney used to have a train, scale model train at his house in Hombley Hills, and like a really big one that you could actually ride, sit on. And this barn was sort of where he would both operate the trains, but also where he'd invite a lot of the Disney animators to come and hang out. They're all a bunch of train nerds, and they would also start talking about Imagineering and developing what would ultimately become Disneyland. Wow. So they've managed to preserve this barn of his. It was donated by his daughter, and there's the Los Angeles Steamers Club is sort of the home of it now. So you can still ride the model trains and go check out this barn where Walt used to hang out. So, so that's just one example, but something like that, something cool, fun little hidden history, and then probably go to maybe a distillery or a brewery. Tends to be one thing my wife and I love checking out, whether we're here or traveling. But there's so many cool ones. Just from, I don't know if you remember from 10 years ago when you moved here, but there weren't very many, and part of that's because the laws changed to allow for more of them to open up. But there's Lost Spirits Distillery is a really wild one down in the Arts District. Sort of like a Willy Wonka of a distillery experience to go through. It's like a amusement ride almost. And then other breweries we love, like Dry River Brewing and Monkish, Angel City, Ladyface. So probably check out one of those, and then probably eat some more. I'd say maybe like hit up a taco truck, or maybe check out like a classic LA spot like Musso and Frank, which we love. And then evening, maybe I just went the other night back to Highland Park Bowl, which
Nice.
Have you had a chance to check it out?
Yeah, that's an awesome one. I haven't checked out Highland Park as much as I want to, but yeah, I've seen the Highland Park Bowl.
Yeah, really cool, historic, oldest bowling alley in LA. And then probably end up with some karaoke at the end. That's probably usually
Now,
where the night
Korean
leads.
karaoke or standard karaoke?
So I don't. I go either way.
Okay.
I mean, I tend to like it where there's like the crowd. Obviously as my background in acting, I don't shy away from that. But
Yeah.
yeah, doing the private room can be fun. Like in like Max's karaoke is fun. Little Tokyo does the private room, or but yeah, other places like actually a cool spot is Tokyo Beat down in Little Tokyo. And that you can actually do a little bit of both. So there's like kind of a bigger room where you can perform or sing in front of whoever's there at the bar, but then they also do have the private rooms, which are cool.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the because this is one that's been on my bucket list forever. And we were talking about how there's just so much to do in Los Angeles that some of the things people haven't heard of, but another problem is you hear of it once and then you forget about it. And that's that brewery you were talking about, the Lost Spirits one.
Yeah, Distillery. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one I've read about many times, but I just keep forgetting to do it. Do you have to make a reservation for that one, or do you just kind of show up?
I don't remember now because I know they might have changed things a little bit. They did experience a fire recently and had to remodel and rebuild. They are open again, and so I think you do have to make a reservation. But off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Okay, I got to look it up and just get that reservation in, because that's one I keep hearing about and I just keep forgetting about. And there's so many amazing. That's in the Arts District, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that, you do need to make a reservation.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna do that. You've inspired me, Danny.
Excellent.
My reservation.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the book you're currently working on. Like I said, you were co-author of the book 100 Things to Do in Los Angeles Before You Die. And it's a great book. I've had it before I even met you. Right now, you're working on a book called Secret LA. So what can our audience expect from this new book? Is it going to be more insider information than your first book, or what's the format of it?
Sure. Yeah. With 100 Things to Do in LA, it was more focused on kind of the essential LA experiences. And as I'd mentioned to you, we kind of really wanted to make sure that we hit some places that not necessarily are going to be in all the sort of the typical travel books, but they might be places you recognize, but if you grew up here, maybe you haven't been back in a long time, or we really offer something, a hack, so to speak, to really appreciate it in a new way. And so that was kind of, the big focus there on those essential LA experiences. Whereas Secret Los Angeles is going to be even more under the radar spots. It's also known as a guide to the weird, wonderful, and obscure. So really those places that, either you've never heard of, or maybe you walked by some funky sculpture and you wondered what the heck is that. So the book, in the book, I'll get into really these fun histories that not a lot of people, even if you've grown up here, might necessarily know about.
Okay, cool. So that book is for me, because I like to get in the deep history of things, and I wonder that all the time. I'll walk by something and be like, okay, what's the story behind that, right?
Totally.
So is it the same format, kind of like in a list format of recommending you do this, or is it kind of broken down into different categories and just gives information on different LA landmarks and stuff?
Sorry, I'm just quieting that noise. It is somewhat in a similar way, sort of listing the different places, but it's more involved. Each entry is quite a bit longer, about twice as long. There's photos. There's going to be like a little mini guide, kind of a blurb of, break down the who, what, where, and so it'll be, it's organized somewhat similarly, but just a little more involved.
Okay. And we're having this conversation in late October 2019. When do you expect the book to be done or released?
It should likely be released early spring, is what they're going through. It's through Reedy Press, which is based in St. Louis, and they actually started the whole series there with the different 100 things to do and secret for different cities.
Oh, cool. So it's I've seen similar book formats where I can't recall the name right now, but there's another one like that where they do one for each city. And
right.
I've got the LA one, obviously, but all right, cool. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And when it comes out, let us know so we can share with our audience.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So let's get into some of these LA secrets. You're going to give us a preview of what's going on in that book that we have to wait all the way till spring till. So, you and I could probably talk all day on hacks and secret tips and tricks in Los Angeles. So we kind of broken it down into a few categories. And the first category is secret bars and speakeasies. So can you go into some of your favorites? And we don't want to give away too much. Like, we don't want to give away the secret entrance because that really pisses people off.
Right.
So we'll see if we can convey how cool they are in our conversation without giving away too much.
Right. Absolutely. So in terms of the secret bars, well, I was going to mention Lost Spirits, but already covered that. I'd say, one fun one I think is actually, it's been around for a while, but I still sort of love it, is the Varnish, which is, I don't say specifically, but hidden inside of Kohl's downtown. So one of the oldest operating bars in LA, and you go get your French dip sandwich there, and then check out the Varnish, and it just has that sort of I think it's like classic speakeasy feel, low lit, whispers and great cocktails. So that's a good one. Have you been there in a while?
Not in a while. I think I went there like a really long time ago.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Another one is down at Clifton's. They have the Pacific Seas as their tiki speakeasy that you have to find the entrance for. And
I was hoping you'd bring that one up because that one just blew my mind. I mean, I haven't been that impressed with the bar since I went to the Edison for the first time. you know, the Edison was kind of before the whole speakeasy craze. So when I went
Mhm.
to the Edison the first time, I was blown away. And that's kind of the feeling I got when I went to Clifton's. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I love it up there. I mean, I love tiki bars in general, so that uh, really got me. And yeah, they did a beautiful job at it, restoring that, and as I'm sure you know, they have incorporated a lot of older tiki bars in there as well. Bahuka, that is a older tiki bar in LA that's closed, and they were able to get a lot of the materials there. Um, so, you know, so it's just like a treasure trove of detail where you can just explore and check all that out. So yeah, it's pretty amazing what they've done there.
Yeah, they've got some incredible speakeasy bars all over. And Los Angeles and downtown Los Angeles, they just seem to be stepping up their game even more. I mean, it's not enough to just have a good bar with good drinks and good food anymore. I mean, the atmosphere just has to be like amazing, you know, like Instagram worthy, really.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think that's, you know, one of the amazing things about being in LA. You know, we have uh, the production world of Hollywood. You know, you've all these folks opening up bars and restaurants that sort of call upon some of these the creative designers. Um, you know, I think, like you say, the expectation, the bar is high, and I think some of these places really deliver in part because of that, and I think even more so just over the past, you know, past decade, I guess, an appreciation for restoring some of these older places, or you know, adding a lot of great character and detail.
Yeah, I think that's the key word is detail. Are you familiar with the Houston brothers?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
so their bars are so for people who don't know the Houston brothers, I'd say they kind of kicked this speakeasy bar trend into high gear. I mean, I don't know how many they own now, like
Yeah,
seven to
it's
ten
hard
of them.
hard
But I
to keep
mean,
track.
yeah, like Break Room 86, the amount of detail in that place is unbelievable. So it's a bar in Koreatown, a speakeasy, well, a secret entrance bar, I guess. And everything is set up to look like the year 1986 in the bar. But like I said, the amount of detail in there is just incredible.
Yeah, that's a great one. Their other spot in Hollywood, No Vacancy, is really cool. Or
Yeah.
it's actually in the oldest residential home in Hollywood, which was the Jane House, and it was originally a house, and then it was a school where like Charlie Chaplin's kids went, and all
Wow.
the old Hollywood. So you get to go, you know, very immersive and go into that building. They've done a really great job with that.
That's really cool. I didn't know the history behind that. But yeah, most of them have something special about it, like Black Rabbit Rose.
Mm-hmm.
God, they have so
I
many. Davy
imagine.
Wayne's. I don't know. We could do a whole episode on the Houston Brothers, really.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, okay, awesome. Those are some amazing suggestions on secret bars and speakeasies. Like you said, I feel like we're so spoiled out here. I went to a bar downtown the other night. It's called V Bar. It's right next to the Nomad Hotel.
Oh yeah, I haven't had a chance to check that out.
Oh, it's beautiful, right? But you know, I saw the pictures and everything, and it's brand new. It's right. It's connected to 7 Grand. You know that bar?
Right. Oh, that's right. Because it used to be Mas Malo in that space.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, and there used to be an old jewelry store
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
that building. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's really beautiful and everything. But I just happened to go to the back in the bathroom, and you know, I had researched the place. I even communicated with them before I went. I went back to go to the bathroom, and there was an emergency exit. It said emergency exit only, but it was propped open because I think someone who I had gone there early, someone who had worked there, I think, was back there. So I was like,
Hmm.
what is this? I'm nosy, right? So I go back there, and it's a speakeasy. It's like a tiny hidden little dining area for sushi that only fits like 6 people behind an emergency exit.
Oh my
So
god, that's great.
the point is like this restaurant is so amazing, so beautiful, and they don't even advertise this other amazing thing they have in the back that
Right.
happened to discover by accident.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that just reminded me of another one. what's the name of it? Slipper Clutch.
Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures of
Uh,
it.
yeah, that place is, it's, I think I want to say it's Bar Claxon. That's the, sort of the main bar, which is a cool bar. But then, yeah, they've got hidden in the back kind of this, sort of, I guess, New York inspired kind of, it's like an elevated dive bar. So you've got all the vintage arcade games and kind of that old school feel.
Yeah, so cool. It's one of my favorite things to do in Los Angeles is to go to either a rooftop bar or go to a secret bar. But
Totally.
okay, so let's go on to the next category. This really inspired me, though. I think I'm going to have to do an episode just on speakeasies because there's just so many.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so the next category that we want to go into for Secret LA is some of the culture and historical spots in Los Angeles. Can you go into some of your favorites with that?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, trying to boil it down to just a few highlights is always tough. But I think, one of the great ones, and I know, some people are familiar with it, but not everyone, is the Bradbury Building, which is in downtown LA. It's just across Broadway from Grand Central Market, and it is one of the oldest buildings in LA, are still surviving. I want to say 1894, and on the outside of it, it's just kind of standard office building. You might not give it a second look, but you go inside and it's just this beautiful ironwork and staircases that wrap around, and glass ceiling, glass skylight, and I recognize it from the most famously Blade Runner, but also 500 Days of Summer, and quite a few things have been filmed in there. But it's just a really, really beautiful building. So that's one. And I think, and behind it too, actually another sort of, some people might know the Bradbury, but one place that's behind it that's actually I talk about in the upcoming book is Biddy Mason Park. I don't know if you ever had a chance to check that out back there.
I haven't seen it, but I've read the history on it. I'll let you go into the history of it, but that's that tiny little park dedicated to a historical figure in Los Angeles, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, she's one of the first African American women to own land in LA, and I don't want to sort of give away too much of her history, but because it's really worth going to check out this small park, which is where her property used to be, and just an amazing story of her fighting to. She was born into slavery and managed to win her freedom back and then become this prominent figure in LA. So just that, it's like you go from one really amazing hidden historical spot and just around the corner there's another. So yeah, that's really a fun destination. So that's one. I'd say also some like underground tours that are hosted by Cartwheel Art, and they do. There's a few of them that they host, but one of them actually is you get to go check out some of the underground tunnels that are beneath LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's all these like service tunnels, and a lot of them. There were even ones that were used for like transporting prisoners or money from a bank to City Hall and things like that. But a lot of them were also used during Prohibition to shuttle booze and bodies too. But this Cartwheel Art Tour, they take you and you get to see all these underground tunnels and even like some old speakeasies that are you can still it's not in service, but like you go beneath the King Eddie Saloon and see their old speakeasy portion, and a few other places. So that's definitely really a fun thing to check out.
Okay, that's awesome. I got to ask you about that because I've
Mm-hmm.
known about that for years, the tunnels that you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about and the history behind it. And I've even seen people post pictures in there. But when I researched it more, it's technically trespassing, and there's just all this hassle associated with it. So I didn't want to recommend it to anyone. But
Right.
what you're saying is that this company, they have access to those tunnels, like you can legally go down there with them and they can show you around, or
Exactly. Yeah. So they've worked out their partnerships with some of the buildings so that they can access some of the tunnels. Yeah, some of the ones like you're referring to um, are off limits. So you're not able to sort of see the whole underground network there, but it's a really great way to explore those places and get the history along with it. Without running the risk of getting in trouble.
oh, that's cool. I'm gonna have to check out. You said they're called Cartwheel Art.
Yeah, cartwheel art. Yeah, yeah, and they
Okay.
also do some mural tours. They do a lot of cool stuff.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know there's a lot of those tour companies around, like walking tours, but you never know
Hmm.
which ones are the good ones or not. But that sounds like an awesome one because I think that's something a lot of people are interested in is checking out those underground tunnels.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. Another there's some great ones. The Esotouric is another tour company, and they do. Um, they're actually more bus tours, but they do um, both like true crime tours and literary tours. So they have like their Bukowski tour. You go to like different bars and hangouts, Bukowski, and the true crime ones. They have one that's like focused on the Black Dahlia and all these great noir histories of LA.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next category for secret, I mean, you just went into kind of an unusual, weird spot with the tunnels, but
Mhm.
can you, since you're researching for this book, you're writing this book about secret Los Angeles, can you go into some of the most unusual or weird spots that we can find here in LA?
Sure, yeah. Um, I'd say one of the first ones I was going to talk about the Holy Land exhibition, which is it's a museum that's housed is in a home over in Silver Lake, and a lot of people think that this guy who lived there was sort of an inspiration for Indiana Jones. So real life inspiration. So his name is Antonio Futterer, and he has a really wild background, but essentially he was sort of on his deathbed and hadn't been really a religious man up to that point, and decided, he said, sort of brokered a deal with God. He said, if you save me from dying here, that I'll devote my the rest of my life to you, and in particular to finding the Ark of the Covenant. So what would contain the Ten Commandments, the stone tablets for Indiana Jones fans too. You'll know. Um, so he then would go back to the Middle East and bring back, as he was searching for the Ark, um, find all these other cultural artifacts, and just amass this amazing collection from all over the region, and they're all in his house there. And they offer tours of it. You have to call ahead and schedule it, but it's just a wild thing. And you'd never know from the outside of the house. It just looks like a regular LA house. So that's a fun one to check out. Um,
That's
and
crazy.
unusual, yeah. So that's one. The Triforium sculpture downtown. It's right kind of behind City Hall, sort of in the shadow of City Hall, and it was a sculpture that was designed as sort of these three arches and then these colored lights wrapped around it, and it was just really sort of ahead of its time. Um, that it was supposed to like be a responsive sculpture, so that when you walked by it, or it had microphones that was supposed to pick up footsteps or people talking, and then it would light up in response to that. So we think of like a lot of these, sort of contemporary installations where there's, LED and it's responsive and they're interactive and everything. But this was before any of that. I mean, it was the computer that operated it was just a huge, room-sized computer that would now fit in your pocket. So it's a funky looking sculpture, and it unfortunately, doesn't work anymore. But there are efforts to try and restore it and update it with some modern tech.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had read something about they were thinking about tearing it down, and then these people petitioned against it.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that came the drive to even get it working again.
Yeah, exactly, which would be awesome. So I'd say that's another great one. And then I'd say Panorama Velislavasi is another weird and wonderful place. They're down by out on the way to USC, and it's housed in what was an old movie theater, one of the oldest, sort of silent theaters that's still standing. And the Panorama. Have you checked this out or heard about it?
No, I haven't heard about this one.
So it's really cool. They Panoramas used to be like prior to movies coming along. This was like one of the popular forms of entertainment, really around like sort of the Victorian area, the 1890s. And what it is we know like a panorama when you shoot it on your phone, but it would be these huge rooms that would have hand painted landscapes, 360 degrees. So you walk into the room and be surrounded by this painting, and often they would depict big battles from wars. So one of the more famous ones is the Gettysburg Battle that's in DC. But some of them would just be, these beautiful landscapes, pictorial landscapes. So it's kind of it was a hugely popular thing, but then of course when movies came along, that replaced it, and it sort of fell out of fashion. But this group has put together this sort of contemporary version of it. In fact, they just recently installed a new panorama, so you can go in and they not only have the painting that's surrounding you, but there's also sort of figurines and sort of a three-dimensional landscape in the foreground, and they have all this great light and sound design so that it goes through sort of a day where the light transitions from day to night and back, and it's really just sort of immersive experience in sort of a relatively low tech way that now we're doing all the VR and all that. That's really sort of a cool throwback and great sort of bit of history as well.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love stuff like that because I think it's part of the artistic vibe in Los Angeles, and then just the desire to keep the history. But I mean, when you mentioned those three things, it just made me think about all the things that are like that in Los Angeles. It makes it so unique. I mean, you look at something like Griffith Park and the original merry-go-round. I mean, that was all donated, right? And
Right.
there's the Venice mosaic tile house. There's the Watts Towers, a guy hand built
Totally.
over 30 years. I mean, there's just all these incredible things like the three you mentioned that are just so unique to Los Angeles,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's always been a sort of a city of reinvention. I think, so many people have come here to kind of strike out on their own, and I think you get a lot of these really amazing artistic contributions and really cool places to check out.
Yeah, and what's really cool about it is it's a combination because you've got the historic ones like you talked about, which are my favorite, but you've also have newer ones, that people are so artistic here that they're always trying new things. Like recently I went to oh my God, the name escapes me right now, but it's these, it's in the arts district, and it's these three to five gigantic domes, art domes.
Oh yeah. I haven't been to it yet, but yeah, I can't.
I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, it's like such an experimental place. Like there's people are always trying something new, and trying to find that next level of entertainment.
Right.
That's
Oh
pretty.
yeah, what's it one? It was
It's gonna drive me crazy that I don't
it's
know.
a traveling one, right? I think it came.
I just talked to them the other day, and I can't remember
Yeah.
their name.
I'll
But
look
yeah,
it
it's
up.
pretty incredible. I mean, it's pretty cool to check out. You basically walk inside of this dome, and they're using all these lights, and I can't even describe it, to be honest with you. Yeah, you have to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just the same
Wisdom, LA.
wisdom.
That's what.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's just the point that there's always someone out there just trying to take it next level. Like we talked about earlier with the bars and restaurants. I mean, it's always next level in Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome. Man, so I almost feel bad to ask you this question because you've already shared so many amazing secrets, and a couple in there that I've never even heard of. So, but got to do this to you. Can you share some of your personal favorite LA hacks?
Sure. Yeah. Um, I'd say, well, so the Hollywood sign obviously is a big attraction for a lot of people, but I feel a great way to actually get up close to it, sort of experience it in a different way, is taking a horseback ride with Sunset Ranch.
Mm.
And they lead these tours through Griffith Park, and you don't have to have any, riding experience. In fact, it was actually the first the first time I rode on horseback was going on that tour. So it's pretty easy going. And what's cool is they have a few different tours, but they have one that's like a sort of ride at sunset. So you get to go up to Mount Hollywood there, and you see a Hollywood sign, and just the surrounding city. The view is amazing. And then they actually finish it with back at the ranch with the barbecue and like live music, and it's a really cool experience.
That's awesome. So I've always thought about doing that. How close do you actually get on the horseback to the sign? Like right in front of it, or?
Yeah, it's sort of I don't know, like how in terms of like the measurement, but it's you get a really great view of it.
Behind or in front?
In front. In
Oh,
front.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
because
awesome.
you can do the hike where you get behind it, which is cool as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a place that's been on my radar for a long time too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up though about the experience, because I'm not, experienced with horses, and I think that's one of the reasons why it kind of held me back.
Yeah, no, it's easy going. I took my nephew on it one time, and it's
All right,
yeah,
how old is this
all
nephew?
skill levels. Well, he's a little older. He was when I took him, I think he was like 14 or 15. But
Okay, I don't feel too bad then. If he was like
yeah,
7 or 8, and I'm scared of
right.
horses.
No, nothing to worry about.
All right, awesome, man. Really amazing hacks. You got me taking notes over here. I'm gonna have to go back and listen and
Awesome.
add these to my ever-growing bucket list. But all right, so we talked a little bit about your book, and it's not coming out until April of 2020. So where can people go to get more updates for when the book comes out, or find more information about you?
Sure, yeah. So you can check out the current book, 100 Things to Do in LA Before You Die, um, at the website 100thingsla.com. And that's sort of the best spot where you can order up a copy of the book there. You can also find it in a lot of local bookstores too, but that's probably the best option. And then otherwise, they can follow my Instagram. Is probably a good way to do that. And it's my first and middle name, Danny Seamus. So DANNYSEAMUS. So I'll be posting both things I'm checking out for the new book and once it comes out, and just other cool new discoveries.
All right, awesome. So everyone, like I said, I own the book 100 Things to Do in Los Angeles. I've got it in my hand right now. I love it. I highly recommend you pick it up. And as you can tell from this episode, Danny's going to drop some awesome hacks in Secret LA. Really looking forward to that one as well. Really want to thank you for coming on the podcast, Danny, and we'll have to have you on again to really deep dive into like maybe secret bars or something.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, you too.
Bye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed listening to that episode. I certainly enjoyed recording it. As someone who's constantly researching what to do in Los Angeles, it was cool to sit down with an author like Danny who's focused on LA, because it really felt like we could have chopped it up all day long and shared suggestions on what to do in LA, but we actually met ahead of time before the episode, and we had to decide on 3 categories, because the categories that we talked about, because we really could have talked all day long. So I'm really looking forward to his book coming out, Secret LA, and that will be in 2020. If you don't want to wait that long, then you can pick up his current book, which he's a co-author of, and that's 100 Things to Do in Los Angeles Before You Die. Really recommend you pick up both of those, because Danny's a great writer and he's got some really great tips on LA. All right, that's all we got for you this week. And if you want more great LA hacks, as always, you can download our free ebook, LA's 10 Best Hacks, and it's at lifehacksla.com/10 hacks. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Peace.